privilege and the honor of bringing your word today. And now hide me behind the cross, O God. Decrease me, O Lord, and increase you within me. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our redeemer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
In December, it will be 2 years since my family and I moved to New Jersey from Maryland. And during that time, Patrick had moved here in October of 2017, and then me and 3 of my daughters and 1 of our dogs, because 2 would not fit in a sedan, with all of the rest of our luggage, we traveled on December the 27th. The temperature was about 25 degrees from Maryland to South Jersey. We were excited and we were ready to begin the next chapter of our family's life, but we had so many questions. Will we be as happy and content here as we were in Maryland? Will we make new friends? Will we like our new school and work communities? There was one great concern in particular: will I like the school lunch that my school serves? Will I find work? Will we have support in New Jersey like we did in Maryland? Will God show up for us here like God did in Maryland? Church, there were so many questions. These questions pushed us to have courage and do things afraid, trusting God as we went. And God answered every single question and is still answering things for us. November is our sermon series, Welcoming God's Abundance, and today the theme is Be Courageous. Many times when God calls us to go to new places and experience new things so that God can bless us, so that we can experience God's abundance, we need courage to do exactly that. The book of the prophet Haggai is small. It's only 2 chapters, and it records the prophet's ministry with the people of Israel over a 4-month period. You see, the Jewish people, at least some of them, they returned from Babylonian exile after 70 years after the Temple of Jerusalem had been destroyed in 586 BC. And so some of the Jewish people were still in Jerusalem, and then there were some who returned. And they returned, and their lives were literally in shambles along with the Jerusalem temple. And so they had to get to work rebuilding in so many ways. I imagine the people must have had so many questions as they took on the hard task of rebuilding their lives and the temple. Will the temple be bigger than it was before? Will it be beautiful? Will we be able to worship God better than we did before? Will God show up for us and work in our midst like God did before? The elders who stayed in Jerusalem and Jews who returned from exile expected the temple to be just as good, if not better, than Solomon's temple, which was huge and beautiful and fancy. The elders remembered what the temple, the one that Solomon built, looked like. But as all prophets do, Haggai had to tell them the truth and also encourage them at the same time. And he brought them face to face with one timeless truth. God is always present and working in every age. So do not fear. Take courage. The Hebrew translation for courage is be strong. Haggai says, take courage 3 times, reminding the people of God that God is always with them, working and waiting to show up and show out in their lives. The world of Haggai is not much different from the world of today. It was filled with chaos and all kinds of socio-political issues going on, all kinds of issues in the church and the community and the homes of the people that were there. In our world, we have corruption and immoral character and conduct among national and global leaders. We've got climate change so rapid, we experience summer and winter in the span of almost 2 weeks. Technology and scientific breakthroughs that blow our minds, making us hopeful for cures to diseases like cancer. Church, we live in challenging and disturbing times, and this is nothing new. Our parents and grandparents lived in challenging times. Our ancestors lived in challenging times, and I'm sure that our future children and grandchildren will encounter challenging times. As my grandfather used to say, there is nothing new under the sun. When we think of the courage of our parents and grandparents and ancestors, though, we often think about all that they overcame. We sometimes fail to think about and reflect on the courage they had to live their beliefs and values and be people of character and kindness and love. The movie Harriet came out on Friday, this past Friday, and I haven't seen the movie yet, but for those of you who haven't heard of it, the movie is about the abolitionist and civil rights activist Harriet Tubman. And it chronicles her life. And in the movie, it talks about how she became a slave at 6 years old and started working in the fields. 2 years ago, in March of 2017, my daughters and I were blessed to go with my mom to the opening of the second Harriet Tubman Museum through the National Park Service in Church Creek, Maryland. And we made a day of it, and we went to the grand opening, and it was wonderful. We walked through the museum as we followed Harriet's life, and we were reading about all of the things that she went through, but all that she accomplished. She was called Black Moses, but was also the conductor of the Underground Railroad, leading many slaves to freedom. It's often said that as she led slaves to freedom, many times there would be some who wanted to turn back. And Harriet would put a gun in their back and say, "Oh, you're going." She was a nurse and a spy and an armed scout for the Union Army during the Civil War. She led 13 missions to rescue 70 enslaved people, including family and friends. But I think the most important thing she would want people to know about her is that she was a servant of the Most High God, who lived her values of freedom for all and courage and faith and perseverance. One of Harriet Tubman's quotes was this: "'Twasn't me, 'twas the Lord. I always told him, I trust you. I don't know where to go or what to do, but I expect you to lead me." And he always did. Tubman's words and the encouragement in them reminds me of Haggai's words to the people who returned from exile to a life in shambles and had to rebuild and start over. Haggai tells them, don't look back at how the temple used to look. Don't listen to the cries of how big it used to be. That was the past. God worked then, and God can and will work now. God can and will work with all the resources you've got. You don't need riches. You don't need a huge budget. You don't even need the best tools. You simply need to take courage. Choose to trust God each day, and God will work. As commentator and scholar Will Gaffney put it, buck up, Zerubbabel. Hold your head up, Josh. Everyone keep working. You have nothing to fear. I am here, and I am with you all. And it won't be like this always. I'll bring resources, treasure, from faraway lands, and in its final form, this holy house will be even better than the one Solomon built. You see, church, God is not just interested in material blessing or prosperity. for us. God desires for those in God's kingdom and for all people to have peace with prosperity, wholeness with healing, grace with gifts, and wisdom with wealth. Hear the Lord's words through Haggai. The silver is mine, the gold is mine. The latter splendor of this house will be greater than the former. Keep working with me. Keep serving me. Keep loving me. So what does it look like for us to take courage today? Well, it can definitely and does definitely look like the lives of Harriet Tubman and many others that we read about in history, as well as those veterans who served in our military and other people in our lives. But church, being courageous is often about the choices we make each day to live for Jesus. By never giving up, even when life gets hard, and trusting in the God who loves us, to hold us, to lead us. I'm going to invite my daughter Bianca to come forward now and share 2 stories of how God has helped her be courageous.
Story number 1. While my sisters were at night, me and my dad had some dominoes. We went to pick up the pizza, and on the way there, my dad said, when we're there, you have to say the order. Then I said, I don't want to say it. He said it's a good way of learning how to speak up. Then I said, okay. I did it very quietly. The guy at the counter didn't hear me. He was very kind and said, don't worry, it's my first day too. I felt fine just after that. He was very generous to say that, and Dad said, see, it's okay, it's his first day too. I was really happy with what he did because he was very kind. Story number 2. One day I was at my school Miller, and we were doing math. My math teacher, Mrs. Byron, said we would be doing a new topic, and I was scared because I thought I was going to get an F in math. Then my math teacher said we would have a math test on Wednesday. I was very scared because I thought I was failing the test. And we were at the beginning of the test. Our math teacher explained something called compensation, a sort of hard math problem. I was confused. Then in a few moments, I understood what she was talking about. It was sort of easy for me to do, and I was calm enough to do the work.
For those who couldn't hear that well, the first story that Bianca shared was about how she had to speak up when she and her dad went into Domino's Pizza and she had to place the order. And he told her to do it, and she's like, I don't want to do it. But as it turns out, God met her there because the man behind the counter, it was his first day working too. And he told her that, so then that put her at ease. And then the second story that she shared for you was when she was introduced to a new math problem in school. And she didn't know if she was going to pass or not. She was scared. She thought she was going to get an F. But as she calmed down and trusted God, she was able to figure it out and work it through. It's inspiring to hear from our young people, isn't it? And in many ways, each of our young people show us how to be courageous through their words and their deeds and their actions. So thank you, Bianca. Church, I want to challenge us this week to be open to how God is working in our lives now and to be courageous in cooperating with God in the work He's doing anywhere and everywhere that He's calling us to be. Being courageous may mean apologizing this week about something that you were wrong about. Being courageous may mean standing up for integrity and honesty at work or at school. small group, or starting a new ministry. Being courageous may mean giving up control over work, ministries, and situations and giving them to God in prayer. Being courageous may mean listening to a phone call from a friend this week who you're also in ministry with, as she answers God's call to go on a mission trip at the last minute to the Dominican Republic. However being courageous looks for you this week, know that we have a God who loves us and who leads us and is always with us. And that's all we need. Amen.
Amen.